Hey there, everybody. Come on in. Welcome to Fierce Feminine Finance. My name is Sarah Nicole Nedler, your host, and today we are talking about early retirement. What does that really mean, and how does it work for businesswomen? And if you are a businesswoman who's considering early retirement, why passive income might be a better strategy than something else you may have heard before. So, come on in. If you're on live with me, let me know you're on live by saying hi. Let me know what type of business you have. If you're watching the replay, you can still comment below because I always circle back around and answer all of the comments. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we're going to dive right into today's training. Let me get up on the slide. Awesome. So this is based off of the passive income party I did earlier last week. If you want a complete replay to that entire training, just comment the word replay below. Actually, no, we already have some replays. So why don't you comment the word passive party below and I will send you the link to the complete training. But today we're going to dive into just a small part of what I covered last week. So let's dive right in. So again, for those of you who don't know, maybe you don't watch my channel, I come live every single Monday at 1 p.m. Central to share tips with you guys on how to retire as a business owner, how to understand investing, and just generally making you more financially literate. There's a direct ratio between the knowledge that you have and your ability to control outcomes in your finances. So if you are like me and you have this dream lifestyle of living on a farm, homesteading, growing your own food, being off grid, and maybe right now you're living in an apartment in Los Angeles. Okay, that was me about 5-6 years ago. And you want to figure out, like, how do I get to that next step? I'll share this quote again. The direct ratio between the knowledge you have and your ability to control that outcome. So what is the outcome that you want to have in your finances? Comment them below. I'd love to see your guys' feedback. What is the outcome you're looking for? What do you want? Is, when we describe financial freedom, when we talk about like retirement and investing, why do you want those? How is that going to improve your life? How's it going to delete something that you don't like from your life? Or how's it going to add? What's the value add going to be from learning to invest, or, paying down your debt, or whatever that goal is for you? I want to know what that goal is and why you have it. So back to our quote here. It says, only when you take radical responsibility for your money can you then accomplish financial freedom. So there's this direct ratio between the knowledge you have, how much radical responsibility you're taking for that knowledge, and then your ability to directly control the outcome. All right. So let's talk a little bit about financial freedom today. In 2019, I sat down with a financial advisor for the very first time. Okay. He asked me questions about my spending, how much money I was making in my business, and how much I had saved. Now, I had just celebrated my 30th birthday not long before that, with no savings, no retirement plan, zero investments. I had never invested a dime. And at the conclusion of my consultation with this financial advisor, he said, you need to be investing $1,200 per month if you want to catch up and be able to retire comfortably by age 65. At the time, I was not living my dream lifestyle by a very long shot. And I went, wow, I have to rapidly increase the profitability of my business by quite a large degree at that time to have $1,200 a month that I could invest with. And I have to do that every single month without fail from now to age 65. And then maybe I'll be able to live my dream lifestyle. Like, there wasn't even any guarantee, right? And so I was like, forget that. And I just went on with my life. And I was like, I guess I'm just never retiring. It's a good thing I like my job, right? Or my business. And so finally, a couple of months ago, and not a month ago, a few months later, past that interview I did with the financial advisor, I was sitting in on a workshop, and it happened to be a workshop on retirement for business owners. And it was being delivered by Eric Miller. Who here knows Eric Miller? He is the co-founder and CEO of Econologics, which is a financial firm that specializes in healthcare practice owners. So he works all day long, every day, helping 7-figure business owners who happen to also be doctors to retire and build wealth, right? So I was watching his workshop. Now you have to understand, the first financial advisor I went to right? The one who told me you need to be spending $1,200 a month in investments to ever retire by age 65. He specialized, like most financial advisors, in helping corporate girlies, right? People who have a job. That's a large percentage of Americans have 9 to 5s, right? And so that was kind of like his model was, hey, let's just take a little bit out of your paycheck every single week. And I'm going over here like, I don't have a paycheck. I pay myself. I'm a business owner. And I could tell that there was just this like this disconnect between what he was teaching me and what I was trying to do, right? When I sat down in this workshop with Eric Miller, finally I was like, oh, like my mind was blown, right? I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense, because what he said was that traditional retirement model that we've all been taught of like save in a 401k, or save in an IRA and put it in the stock market and do that over the next like 40 years. And then you'll retire by age 65. Like that whole model is based off of the idea that you have a job and there's a corporation that's like matching your contributions and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't have any of those things. So I learned from Eric Miller how to think differently about retirement. And less than a year later, I was earning $1,100 per month in passive income. Instead of me having to invest $1,200, I was earning $1,100 passively without having to lift a finger. So today we're going to talk about how I did that. Okay. I did it without shutting down my business, without investing in high risk day trading strategies or giving up my vacations and my spending money. I still eat lots of avocado toast. Okay. Instead, I just used my extra cash from my business to build an investment portfolio of low risk, cash flowing assets that pay me passively, like on the dot, every single month. Okay. And I've used what I learned to build multiple streams of passive income since then. So today I'm going to show you how to do the same. Comment 2 in the chat if you're like, yeah, that sounds amazing. I would totally love to learn that, Sarah. Thank you. I love interaction. So please let me know. I see we have a couple of people on live. I would love to hear from you. What do you think about this strategy? Okay. So I call it the fear to fierce financial formula, because I see a lot of businesswomen, they invest money in the stock market, or they start dipping their toe into, real estate investing or other types of passive income streams, and they lose their shirt. Okay. They literally like put money in things and they lose it all, or they get like sued, like they open an Airbnb and then, someone trips and falls or whatever, and they get sued, and then they lose the asset, and they even start coming after their business. Like it can get to be a whole hot mess if we don't put the right financial and legal protection in place. Now, I'm not an attorney, but luckily my business partner is, and she recorded inside my program 7 different video lessons on exactly how to legally protect yourself. It's also covered. Oh, I don't have a copy of my book. Oh no, here, let's point. Ready? We're gonna point really far, way back there. Right there, you'll see a copy of my book. She also wrote 3 chapters inside the book where she talks about the legal aspect of protecting your wealth. So if you want to learn more about that, ask Destiny. I'll tag her below this video after we are done going live. So this is the fear to fierce financial formula that I'm going to be teaching you on today. Okay. We're going to talk about 3 different secrets that I have discovered that made it possible for me to do what I did. So the first secret is, as I said before, the old retirement model is dead. At first, I thought it was just me. I was like, wow, this is probably working for everybody else, but it just doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to go this other route, right, that Eric had taught me. But then over time, as I got more financially literate, I realized that this actually doesn't work for anybody. 78% of Americans are behind on retirement. So you've probably been there, right? Maybe your old job offered you a 401k, or maybe your partner has one, or like me, you tried to hire a financial planner and they just told you like, oh, go open a IRA and put $1,200 a month into it, and hopefully maybe someday you'll retire, right? One size fits all does not work when it comes to financial planning. We all have unique goals. We all have a unique starting point. And when you try to apply that principle of the old retirement model, 78% of us, it's not working for us. So clearly it wasn't just me, right? So if you're feeling a little bit behind on retirement right now and you're like, maybe I'm doing something wrong, it's probably not you, it's actually them. Okay, just to be totally blunt. So let's do a little tiny history lesson on the subject of retirement in the United States. So Back in my parents' day and my grandparents' day, there was a three-legged stool that we could use for retirement. This piece right here, the far right-hand leg, was a pension. Okay, so back in the day, you probably know people like this. They worked for one company their whole lives, and for that loyalty, in exchange for that loyalty and doing a good job, that company then offered a pension. Okay, that was the original retirement plan. And it was meant to create loyal employees who worked really hard, right? So, again, if you're a business owner, you're not an employee, you can see right away you're missing one leg of the stool. And furthermore, more and more companies are starting to see that it's unprofitable to offer pensions. And so they're not even offering them anymore. Instead, they replace it with this thing called the 401k, which is actually just your own personal savings dressed up as something fancy for retirement, right? So we lost that first leg of the stool over the last couple of decades, right? Pensions have kind of been disappearing. Comment in the chat if you still have a pension or if you know someone who does. I don't know that many people anymore who have one unless they work for the government or in certain trades, right? The trade industries like painters and electricians and stuff like that, plumbers, right? Sometimes they have pensions, but not that often anymore. So now, despite the fact that pensions existed, at that time, we also had people starting to live longer and longer and longer, right? And so we had this thing called Social Security, and Social Security was supposed to protect you in retirement in case you ran out of your pension, okay? So if you outlived your pension, you had Social Security. It was never meant for all these other things we use Social Security for, okay? So not only was it never designed to be used so much, people are now like retiring thinking they're going to live their whole life on Social Security, which is not its purpose originally, right? But also the money inside Social Security has also been mismanaged pretty badly. So it's expected by the time I and millennials my age are ready for retirement, Social Security may not even exist, right? Like I'm not even banking on it. I'm just assuming that Social Security will not even exist by the time I turn 65, and I'm making sure I have my other solutions in place. So if we get rid of the pension, which most people don't have one anymore, and if Social Security is going to disappear before you and I are ready to retire, then we are suddenly sitting on a one-legged stool. Okay, so that's already pretty uncomfortable. And I think that already explains why 78% of Americans are so behind financially. But we have an even bigger problem, okay? Why did the pension start to disappear? Why has it become so much more difficult to retire comfortably than it was, say, in the 1950s? The reason why is because in the 1950s, the average life expectancy of an American was just 68 years old. That means if you retired by age 65, your retirement savings only had to last you an average of 3 years. So these days, the average life expectancy is into the high 70s. So we're also having to amass way more wealth to retire by the same age because it's becoming more and more impossible by the fact that we are growing older, right? So it's actually a good thing that like we're all able to live longer, but you just have to think with the fact that that does kind of mess with the original plan for retirement. So in addition to this problem of suddenly all of our retirement plans falling solely on our own personal responsibility. We no longer have pensions. Social Security is kind of going away. Now it's all up to us and we're living longer. We also have another problem. Comment in the chat if you've heard of the silent depression. Who knows what that phrase means? The silent depression is a concept that has developed over the last few years. It's becoming kind of a buzzword because someone crunched the numbers, right? I did this math myself too, and found that the average American today, their wages are less if we adjust for inflation than the average American was earning at the time of the Great Depression. Okay, so inflation is just like skyrocketing. It's going up and up and up, and it's mostly profiteering by large corporations. And in addition to that, the average American wage has not even stayed the same. It's actually gone down compared to, if you adjust for inflation, compared to the Great Depression. So a man who was the main breadwinner back in the Great Depression era, right? A man could support a partner and 3 children on one average income wage, right? The wage that one American man would pull in a year during the Great Depression, an entire family of 5 could be supported by that wage. Today, that is not possible. right? That is not possible. You probably have recognized this, even if you haven't ever actually crunched the numbers for yourself. You probably have recognized that it requires 2 American full-time incomes to support a family of 5 in most areas of America, right? So this is called the Great Depression, and it's coming from a couple of different places. Okay, one, like I said, skyrocketing inflation, wages staying the same. That's not good, right? But also we have massive amounts of debt in this country, right? We've got car loans, we've got mortgages, we've got student loans, that's not even including credit card debt, right? So the average American spends 25% of their income on taxes. That's income tax, sales tax, homeowners tax, all the different ways you get taxed, right? About 25% of your income goes towards taxes. 25% of your income on average goes towards debt, right? Student loans, credit cards, et cetera, et cetera. That means we're already living on 50% of our paycheck every single month, right? So when people say like, oh, just make it so that you're living on 50% of your income and then you'll be able to invest, that's not even true. As you can see in this pie graph, there's no room in this equation for any saving towards retirement. So in order to save towards retirement, most financial advisors try to convince you to lower your living expenses to be less than 50% of what you make so that you can carve out a piece towards investing. That is not what I teach. We actually find ethical, legal ways to reduce your tax liability and reduce your debt so we can carve out a piece in the pink area instead of the green. So you do not have to stop going on vacation. You do not have to stop eating avocado toast or drinking Starbucks. You can actually learn how to invest without having to say no to yourself all the time, okay? So all of this is meant to, like, what is the point? Why do we care about all these things, right? We've talked about like how shitty it is and how much we're sitting in a Great Depression, but why is it important for us to know that? The reason why it's important for us to know that is even if we can just squeeze out $1 in the budget, that dollar can be then put to work using compounding interest to make us more dollars. So I don't want to crunch the numbers on $1 because that's just depressing. I'm going to hope that you are in a better financial situation and you have enough room in your budget that you could accumulate in a shorter period of time around $10,000. So let's say you're sitting on $10,000, whether it's money you've been saving or it is an inheritance, or that just happens to be your monthly discretionary income. That would be amazing if that's you, right? As business owners, it is definitely more possible and we're definitely more flexible in our ability to earn income. So I'm going to assume that you can come up with $10,000, okay, for the sake of this example. If we put that $10,000 in just a high yield savings account, okay? 4% interest is what my high yield savings account is actually earning, slightly more than that right now. So let's just do an average of 4%. That $10,000 would become $20,000 in just 18 years, okay? So that means if I am 37, oh gosh, I shouldn't have used myself. Now I have to do the math. Okay, let's do the math. I'm going to not be lazy here. 37 plus 18. So if I just put that money in a high yield savings account and left it alone, didn't touch it again, by age 55, I would have 20,000. I would have doubled my investment, okay? But what if we can put it in something that earns us 10% per year? This is compounded, right? Now it's only going to take us 7.2 years. So here I am at age 36. If I put that 20,000, if I put 20,000 into a high yield savings account, by age 43, it's going to be 40,000. Okay. By 50, it's going to be 80,000. By age 57, it's going to be $160,000. By the time I'm 65 years old, that $20,000 that I put in today will have become $320,000. I will have literally made $300,000 in interest. You guys see the power of this? Now, the way people usually do this wrong is they use compounding interest by putting their money in the stock market, which is so volatile that sometimes they earn money, but sometimes they lose money. So I'm going to show you some ways that we are going to do this without losing money. All right. Okay, so we're going to skip our little calculation here because I don't have enough people on live to make that worth it. So we're just going to skip it. So what is the solution? Instead of investing a ton of money over 40 plus years in the hope that this volatile stock market will allow you to one day retire, which is the old way, I started using the Fear to Fierce financial formula. And with 5 years, I went from hustling all the time and honestly afraid of my financial future, knowing I would never retire, something didn't change, right? To living my dream lifestyle on a 16-acre farm that I love and earning passive income every single month, okay? So again, let's dive into exactly step by step. Now that you understand the old way and why we don't want to do that, let's actually dive in step by step into what the Fear to Fierce financial formula actually is, okay? So secret number 2, your successful 6-figure business, I'm going to say 6+ figures. So if you're also earning 7 figures, this definitely applies to you even more. Your business is your greatest vehicle to endless wealth. Okay. I'm going to repeat that. It is your greatest vehicle to endless wealth if you know how to use it. So a lot of financial advisors, again, they don't take into consideration when they're looking at retirement. They don't take the business as an asset into consideration because they're not business owners, right? Most financial advisors are employees of like Charles Schwab or Edward Jones, right? And so they don't really understand the concept of how to sell a business or like even know how to go about that, right? So if we're going to talk about how to use the business as an asset that can help us retire, we have to understand where we're trying to get to with this, right? What, at the end of the day, financially speaking, what is retirement? Retirement is the moment when you achieve financial freedom. Okay. In other words, when your monthly passive income exceeds your basic expenses, so you no longer have to trade time for money. So think about it this way. If I accumulate $2.5 million in the stock market, okay, the interest alone would allow me to live on $100,000 a year without ever touching the principal. All right. That is how most people are trying to retire. They're trying to amass enough wealth in the stock market that they can live on interest without having to touch the principal or without having to spend down the principal so fast that they don't survive retirement, right? So another way of saying that is if I simply build up an investment portfolio of passive income streams, I could accomplish the same thing without ever having to amass that kind of wealth in the stock market, right? The way we do this is by calculating out what is our freedom number. So if you're doing the old method, you would figure out how much monthly income or annual income you want to have and make sure that that is no more than 4% of the amount of wealth that you're amassing. That's the old way. Okay. Here's the new way. Here's the better way. The better way is we simply look at what does your ideal day look like? In other words, if you could retire tomorrow, what would you be doing with your time? Okay, put it in the chat. I'm curious to hear from you guys. What would you be doing with your time if you could retire tomorrow? For me, when I sat down and did this exercise, you want to know what my answers were? I said, I want to be homesteading. I want an off-grid space. I want to be writing fiction all the time. I want to be giving back and doing fundraising for nonprofit organizations. And I want to be helping, like, reach back a hand and help other women who are struggling the way I did when I first started my business. I want to be helping them. I want to be taking on mentorship role in my community. So guess what? Once I had figured out that that's what my ideal day was, and I calculated out how much money I needed to earn in order to make that happen, I was able to get there in just a few years. What I just described for you, which I had written down in my little LA apartment, okay, only 6 years ago, that is my life today. That is what I do all day long, every day. I relax on my 16-acre farm. We did buy a farm, right? I earn passive income. I mentor businesswomen. I write fantasy novels. Like, this is my life every single day. So this is a very powerful exercise. And I want you to actually take the time to really do it thoroughly. Thoroughly write out what exactly your ideal dreamy day would look like, and then cost out what it would take for you to live that lifestyle. Once you know what that would take, now we can take a look at the business and treat it like the asset it is, okay? There are 5 ways your business can help you to hit your freedom number. 3 of them involve selling the business. So if the business you have is not a part of that overall big picture of what you want to be doing on a daily basis, we can find a way to sell it, right? A fourth way to use your business to hit your freedom number is to make that business so boring by hiring a team, training managers, and automating the business. Make it so boring that you no longer have to show up to work and you're just getting a paycheck. Okay, so you're going to maintain ownership of the business, but you're not going to be involved in the day-to-day operations anymore. So that is a really great strategy for a lot of business owners who love what they do, would never want to retire, but they do want more financial freedom, right? The fifth strategy is the one I love the most, and that is when we actually use one of those strategies, whether we're selling the business, or we're keeping it, right? We combine that with doing other investments. Now you're diversified. Now you have the potential to swing back anytime life hits you, okay? Because when we invest all our money just back in the business, hoping that it will someday be a retirement plan, we are taking a massive risk that really puts your entire family's financial situation at risk. So it's better to pick what you want to do with the business, but also do other types of investing, not because you don't think your business is going to be good enough, but because we know that life happens, right? As business owners, life happens. Sometimes things happen that we cannot predict. And so it's important to have a fallback plan. And that is why diversifying your portfolio is such a good idea. So, as I said, there are 5 ways your business can help you hit your freedom number. I'm going to hop off the screen for a second. You guys can screenshot that if you want to and come back to it later and make a decision about how you're going to leverage your existing business in retirement. Okay. Now, if you do decide you're going to sell the business as part of your retirement plan, it's important for you to understand how much growth you need to build into that business before you'll actually be able to do that. Okay. A lot of businesswomen I speak to are like, yeah, my business is my retirement plan, but they don't know. They don't have a correct estimation of effort of what that's actually going to take. They don't realize how much that business is valued at, okay? I've had it go both ways. I've had a lot of women underestimate how valuable the business has to be for it to sell for a good amount, but I've also had women who had a really successful high 6-figure or low 7-figure business who didn't realize that they could literally retire today if they sold that business. Like, it goes both ways. So this is why this next slide, even though it might be a little bit intimidating, you're like, what does that word mean? I promise I'm going to break it down, and it is so freaking important for you to know how much your business is actually valued at. Okay, so let's dive into it. So there's this word, or this acronym, I should say, called EBITDA. Okay, EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, like, what the heck are those things, right? So earnings, that means like how much money does your business earn, okay, before you take into consideration interest. Okay, so if you've borrowed money to build your business, you owe interest on those loans. Most of the time, that's going to lower our taxable income. So we generally take interest out of that, right? When we're thinking about how much we earn, we don't count the interest. In this example, we're going to do earnings before we take out interest, okay? Same with taxes. Before you pay taxes, how much did you earn, right? Also, depreciation. So you may own equipment, you may own the business that your building resides in. There may be like large assets that your business owns that depreciate over time. And that depreciation, again, is often extracted out of the profit number because it can reduce your tax liability. But when we're looking at EBITDA, we don't want to do that subtraction. We want to keep depreciation on the books when we're looking at EBITDA, because it increases the value of the business, okay? Same with amortization. Amortization is when we look at over time, how much should I be saving essentially to replace an item? So like maybe you have a $35,000 piece of equipment in your healthcare practice, right? Well, amortization tells us like, well, we can reduce our profit by such and such amount because someday we're going to have to replace that piece of equipment. Again, that is a tax strategy. When we're doing EBITDA to calculate the value of a business, we don't want to take those off the number because it will falsely reduce the value of your business, okay? So another way of looking at EBITDA, if you have no idea what any of these numbers are and you're like, Sarah, I'm really lost, just think about what was the cash profit generated by your business's operations last year. In other words, your salary and the profit from the business, how much was that? What was the take home in profit and an owner benefit from the business last year? That number is probably close estimate of your EBITDA. Okay. So if you're a 7-figure business, but as the owner, your profit margin and salary only accumulated to about $250,000 last year, well, the value of your business is going to be based off of a multiple of that number, that net profit number. Okay. So depending on your industry, depending on what type of business you have, whether it's online, offline, and what kind of assets it has and things like that, your business will usually sell for between 1 and 10 times EBITDA. So that's a pretty big swing, right? Like adding a zero can do a lot to your bottom line. So if your business only took home $250,000 last year in profit, right? Not revenue, but profit, and you sell it for 1-time EBITDA, that means you're only walking away from that business with $250,000. That's not very much, right? By putting the right systems in place and understanding the process of selling a business, understanding how to increase the value of the business, we can get it a lot closer to that 10 times EBITDA number. Now, when you go sell the business, instead of walking away with 250,000, you walk away with 2.5 million, right? That's a much sexier number. And it makes it a lot easier to retire. So it's so important to know what you need to do to your existing business to make it sellable. And the best way to do that, honestly, oops, my slides got out of order. Where'd it go? Oh no. All right. Well, we'll skip that slide. The best way to do that is to have the right team in place. This is the slide that's missing. I want you to envision this team. Okay. You need a CPA to talk about the tax implications of the business and doing these changes we're going to talk about, right? Those will have tax implications. Some of them are positive, some of them are expensive. You're also going to need a financial advisor. Hello, someone who can help you not only on the profit end, right? Like a business coach or a profit coach to look at the profitability of the business and widen that profit gap if possible, but also in the financial investment end, right? Once we get that money, what are we going to do with it? Where's it going to go so that we don't lose that money? Okay. You also want an attorney on your team. If you're going to be selling your business someday, you definitely want to build that relationship now so that you're not like meeting your attorney the same day you sell your business. That's not good, right? And you also want a business broker. I have a lovely girl right here in Kansas City who will do a free valuation of your business. If you want to know how much your business is worth right now, if you sold it, and you want to know what you have to do in order to improve the profitability or improve the valuation of that business so that you can, let's say, sell it in 5 years, something like that, reach out to me and I'll give you her number. Okay. So understanding that the business is often one of the largest assets you have and one of the greatest vehicles you have in your desire to retire early. Okay. The great thing about doing this is you do not have to wait until age 65 to sell that business, exit quickly, exit profitably, and take that money, and now you can retire on it. Okay. So this is a really important thing for business owners to understand if you want early retirement, which is what we're supposed to be talking about today, right? What early retirement actually means. Okay. The other way that we can create early retirement as businesswomen is to fully, thoroughly understand the options for passive income as a successful business owner. So I define passive income as a form of investing whereby we build a portfolio of cash flowing assets so that we build up monthly passive income and we no longer have to trade time for money to earn a living. Okay. So the best way to do that, if you're already a successful 7-figure business owner, right? You're making a minimum of $1 million per year in your business. The best way to build passive income is to license out your intellectual property to other brands. So in case you aren't familiar with this term, intellectual property is a work or invention that is the result of your creativity. All right. So you already have intellectual property in your existing business. If you are a 7-figure business owner, I can almost guarantee you have intellectual property of some kind, right? the trade secrets, the logo, the brand name, all these things are your intellectual property. There's also potential for other types of intellectual property. Like you could write a book, right? Your manuscript then becomes your intellectual property. Maybe you have an idea for a software that you want to design, or anything that you have the rights to that you could patent, copyright, or trademark. Those are your intellectual property. Comment the word IP, just the letters IP below if you want my list of 50 different ways you can use your intellectual property to earn passive income as a 7-figure business owner. Okay, so if you want that list, comment IP in the chat below. Here are some of the ways. I'm going to give you 50, but here's 6 of them, okay? You can create online courses, you can create digital products, you can trademark things and license out the trademarks to other brands. You can use inventions, you can use your trade secrets. Think of that as like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my goodness, I'm going blank. Trade secrets. Using your trade secrets in a business to earn passive income. That would be franchising. That was the word I was looking for. You can franchise your business, right? That creates passive income. You can also create e-commerce products and use drop shipping to deliver it. Okay, so there's 6 ideas right there. If you want the other 44 examples, comment the word IP below and I will send you the link. Okay, so how do we use our intellectual property to earn passive income so that we can become financially free as fast as possible? The way to do this is to stop thinking like a worker bee, okay? Worker bees, when a task comes on her plate, a worker bee thinks to herself, how do I put that on my calendar, right? How do I squeeze that into my calendar and get that task done? That is worker bee mentality, okay? What we want to do is flip the switch and start thinking like an investor instead. When an investor sees a task that needs to be done, their first thought is, who has what I need and needs what I have? How can I motivate someone else to pay me to take that task off my plate? Okay, I'm going to repeat that because it's so odd when you're a worker bee and it's like trying to twist your brain to think this way, okay? But I really want you to duplicate and understand how important it is to have this mindset shift if you want passive income. So who has what I need and needs what I have, right? And the thought is, how can I motivate someone to pay me to take that task off my plate? Okay, let me show you some examples of brands who have done this, people who have done this. J.K. Rowling is a great example of this. She is currently richer than the King of England. Okay, she earns $95 million per year licensing out her rights to Harry Potter. So here's what's really interesting about J.K. Rowling. Yes, she wrote 7 books. Yes, that was definitely trading a lot of time for money, right? But the sale of books is not how she produces income, okay? She's definitely made a modest sum, okay, of probably a couple million off of the sale of her books, but it's not the books that made her richer than the King of England, okay? It's licensing out the Harry Potter universe to Disney to make the movies. It's licensing out the Harry Potter universe to costume companies to make all the costumes, and to swag companies to make the t-shirts and the wands and the things like that. She does not make t-shirts. You don't see J.K. Rowling in her house pressing, logos onto t-shirts. She's not trading time for money. She has inspired and motivated another brand to pay her for the privilege of doing that work for her. Okay, here's another example. Michael Jordan. Yes, he absolutely put blood, sweat, and tears in the beginning, right? Who here saw the movie Air last year? Fantastic movie about a woman who absolutely understood the value of what I'm telling you, okay? How we license out our intellectual property. This was a movie about Michael Jordan, but really it was a movie about his mother and how she was the visionary. She's the one who saw how powerful his name would become if he became famous. And so sure, she did absolutely make sure that he got paid well for playing basketball, and he did make a lot of money playing basketball. But currently Michael Jordan earns $256 million per year, not by playing basketball, but by licensing his name to Nike. And that was the vision of his mother, who saw the power of intellectual property. Okay, so watch the movie Air if you want to learn more. what has passive income and intellect and licensing out my intellectual property, selling my original wedding business, right? What has that done for me? I just want to share my own story. So again, like I said before, 5 years ago, I was living in a tiny little apartment in LA and my life was completely different. And I had this dream, I had this vision of what I wanted it to be like. And today, I license out my intellectual property to other businesses who produce products or services based off of my intellectual property, and they sell them for me. Okay. I have multiple women who are selling digital products that I produced, and they're making money off of them. They're helping increase my impact in the world by selling those products to women, and I never have to touch it. Okay. In the meantime, I'm over here living on my 16-acre farm, completely off grid. We have no overhead practically, right? We still have a mortgage. That's about it. Everything else, there's no utilities. Everything is paid for because it's completely off grid. And we bought this property by using the sale of my wedding business and the sale of our home in Oregon. Okay. So everything I'm teaching you today is something I myself have done or am doing. Every single week on Sunday, I run an entire mastermind of authors and aspiring authors right here in Kansas City. And I show them how to write a book that is, lighting them up and making them really excited to finish, right? We finish that book, we publish it, we use book funnels, right? Automated selling systems called sales funnels or book funnels to sell that book to hundreds, if not thousands of readers every single month, right? I sell hundreds of copies of my books every single month. And then we also go to Etsy store owners and women who like to make bookmarks and sell them on, Amazon and stuff like that. And we license out the rights to our book, right? So I have a fantasy novel. I have a whole fantasy series under a pen name. Okay. And I allow Etsy store owners to license the rights to my fantasy universe to create t-shirts and swag bags and bookmarks and to sell them on Etsy. I'm not on Etsy. I've never had an Etsy store. Okay. I don't sell any of those things, but someone else does. And she's really excited and is super creative and wants to create those things. That's great. She can create them based off of my books if I get a licensing fee. Okay. So this is how I've built multiple streams of passive income. Am I done? Absolutely not. I plan to retire by age 45. I am only 37 right now. So that just goes to show you this can happen quickly, but you can also continue to build multiple streams, additional streams of passive income, even once you've actually started to live your dream lifestyle. Okay. You don't have to stop creating impact in the world. So anyway, I hope that this has been a helpful training for you guys. I wanted to do just kind of this overview. Excuse me. If you are a businesswoman, you have a successful brand that you've built and you want early retirement, or you want to change the way you're earning money so it's no longer trading time for money and instead it's passive income streams, comment below. Let's jump on a call. I'm happy to spend 45 minutes of my time with you, absolutely free, mapping out your journey from where you are through the Fear to Fierce financial formula to where you want to be with your freedom number and show you how fast that can actually happen. Okay. So comment below if you want to jump on a call. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming on today. And I will see you guys next week on your next episode of Fierce Feminine Finance. Have a great day, guys.